TyesGeekSide, formerly known as Marvelous Bricks. Welcome, Ty. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, so good to see you. So good to be here.
For those that don't know who you are, why don't we cover kind of the high level of what TyesGeekSide is all about?
Well, you alluded to the fact that I had a different name previously. I took a break and decided to kind of rebrand a little bit. And not so much rebrand in terms of the content that I do. I'm still a big Marvel nerd and I still do mostly Lego. But I wanted to change the name a little bit because I didn't want to be just about Marvel and just about Lego, because I do have other kind of fandoms to which I adhere, and I thought TyesGeekSide was really cool because, as I've alluded to when I kind of made my comeback, I feel like there's definitely two different sides of me in the sense of I'm a responsible adult father figure, father of two kids, by day. At night I'm like, I have this geeky hobby room that looks like a toy store and a Lego store, and I do ridiculous things on Twitch. So I feel like it kind of spoke to the two sides of me.
I like the rebrand or the shift in terms of the direction that you went. What can people expect when they tune into one of your streams?
That's kind of still a little bit in flux, shall we say. I mean, right now I'm streaming once a week and get building back up in terms of more and more streams and content. Basically, I'm focusing entirely on Lego right now, mostly Marvel related builds and chat. I tend to stick to mocks, which are creative builds, my own creation stuff, but I will do Marvel sets when I have some to build. I really want, though, my chat to not just be about Marvel fandom. I'm interested in other people's fandoms, so I like to know about what other people like and what they nerd out and geek out about. Whether it's Star Wars or stamp collecting or Funko Pops or stuff like that. I'm genuinely interested in what gets other people as passionate about stuff as I am about my stuff. But also I do kind of want to make room and make space in my chat and my streams for kind of a little bit more, I don't want to say serious, but like more grounded conversations that aren't just about fandoms. Like it's an adult oriented stream. We talk about adult themes and concepts. So to diverge into something that is a bit more serious is something that's on the table as well. And I'd like to go there when we can, as long as it's kind of organic, not forcing it that way.
I think that the shift from more of a brick oriented name to now like this is like the geek side really speaks to that. How did you settle on the new name?
I actually, it came down to two names actually between the two that I had. At one point, actually, in between Marvelous Bricks and TyesGeekSide, there was Tyes Hobby Room, because that's kind of the room that I'm in. This is where I do my hobby stuff, my toys, my Transformers, my Lego, stuff like that. But when I finally settled on TyesGeekSide, it was between Coach Tyes Toys and TyesGeekSide. Because, again, the other aspect of my life is related to coaching, and I wanted to touch on the other part of me. But I felt TyesGeekSide was a little more subtle and also a little more direct in terms of the stuff that is going to be part of the content on the stream.
How was that whole transition from the previous moniker to what you're doing now?
I mean, I think it's easier for me than everybody else. A lot of people were pretty attached to calling me Marv or Marvelous, so I think everyone else is struggling with it more than I am. But I'm really happy with it. I really wanted something that I felt like represented all of me versus just
one side,
compartmentalizing pieces of me. And like I said, leaving my stream open to kind of more serious conversations. Also, like I wanted to be able to not feel like I was just talking about Marvel 24/7. I didn't want that. It's definitely a lot of what we do, a lot of what I do, because it's my biggest fandom. But I didn't want it to just be like, this is just what I do. This is all I know and all I talk about.
Right.
I definitely want it to be a little more global than that and feel like I was fully representing myself on stream.
I like how you decided I don't want this to define me as a person or as a name. I like that approach. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the turning point, honestly, was, and Lego fans will probably relate to this when they have family and friends that aren't Lego fans. But the turning point for me in terms of the name finally was my wife was texting with her friend, and her friend made mention of, tell Ty he should be proud of me. I got this Lego set. And I was like, I know you're more like my wife's friend than my friend. Is that really the only thing that I am, is the Lego guy to you? You know?
Right.
And I was like, I don't want to be just that. Yes, I am a Lego guy. Yes, I am proud to be an adult fan of Lego, but that's not the only thing that is me. So that was the big like moment that I was like, no, I need to make sure that when I'm presenting myself on Twitch, yes, it's mostly Lego. There's more to it than that.
I really just want to take the time and appreciate that, because I think as creators, we get so caught up in being a part of a niche, because that in a lot of ways, and you hear it all the time, that's what, if you want to produce content, you want to be known for something, and that puts us in a box generally when we start to do that. And I'm glad you recognize that I don't want to be known for just that. I want to be known for more things. So that's very, very awesome. What got you into streaming?
My brother-in-law. So I am someone who started streaming, mid-pandemic, but it wasn't the pandemic itself and looking for connection that was a driving force behind it. My brother-in-law was streaming on Twitch. He doesn't anymore, but he was a decent-sized streamer, streaming Gwent, which is the card game from The Witcher. And he streamed a couple other of like card-based games, but that was his big thing. And so he would stream, and we talked about it one day. We were actually at a family function, and it was him, my family, their cousins, and we were talking about streaming, and it was legit like, that would be something I think I would enjoy doing, and Lego was content I could do. I really just need like 2 cameras, not a clue. I had not been on Twitch prior to that conversation. Not
Right.
a clue about what Twitch was, other than I knew it was a streaming platform for gamers and chatters and stuff like that. So that was the catalyst. And then I ended up investing in, I did need a new computer for it. I invested in that, and then started like poking around on Twitch for like a month or two, and then finally jumped in January of 2021. But that was the catalyst, and it was really just, let's see if I like this. If I make a little bit of money off it and it kind of pays for some of the Lego that I'm going to buy, then it's free Lego.
Right.
That was kind of the thought process. Do I enjoy it? And if I get some free Lego out of it, then great.
Yeah. How hard could it be? Right.
Yeah. Just gotta show. I build Lego every day. I might as well just do it on camera. It's the same thing.
There are a few people who share that story who've been on this show who've like, how hard could it be? I'm going to build Lego anyway, and I'm going to do it on stream.
Yeah, how just very naive about it, and not in a bad way. Naive in that this has been a hobby that I have very much enjoyed, and I've taken a break. I've had some struggles in certain ways, but like I wouldn't be back if I didn't enjoy it. And the work that goes in behind the scenes is actually something I discovered that I enjoy that I didn't expect to.
It's clear Lego came first. How long were you into Lego before streaming?
Since I've been collecting Lego and Marvel Lego since 2013.
Wow.
2013, 2014, something like that. So again, Lego had a huge jump in popularity, again, COVID related, pandemic related, but I had been collecting it long before that. I had changed jobs, and I literally had brainstormed with my wife, like, okay, I need a hobby. This new job is like all encompassing. I'm stressed. I need something that I can just do. Mm-hmm. And we actually discussed a couple of ideas, like Lego model building, like collecting stuff. And Lego was something that stood out as something I loved as a kid. It was something I could physically do. Like, I'm toying with Lego in my hands right now as we're chatting, because like it's like a fidgety type thing sometimes when I'm like, I have work meetings and I'm sorting Lego during a work meeting, and I'm sure they can hear it and I don't care. But like, it's something that I can like do and really engross myself in. Whereas like if I was, let's say, just collecting toys, which I have some toys collected, but like that's you sit and look at it, you're not doing anything. So Lego really appealed to me in that way, and that's why I'm a chaos builder too, because I want to do it and sift through it and sort, and not sort, but like search for stuff, and that's how it came about.
That's really cool that you sat down, you're like, I need a new thing, I need something that I can get my hands into and really enjoy. And I mean, like you, I'm actually also fidgeting with Lego as well. So you've been, the timeline is decided like around 2013 you needed to get into Lego. You've been doing that for years, Marvel Lego as well. And then the pandemic happens. You hear about Twitch from your brother-in-law, and you decide to get on. And like you said, you went about a month or so of kind of doing your own research. What was that like as you were kind of dipping your toe into Twitch?
I was looking at Lego streamers, and some of the streamers that have been around since before then will attest to that. Like, there were not many. There were more than I found because I was just kind of poking around a little bit. But like back then, there was like the Tuesday Raid Train. There was Brick and Nick, a couple other random that did it, but there weren't the chatters or the gamers who would add some variety into what they did by building a Lego set for a week or two. Like, that didn't happen. It really kind of boomed later than that. And like, even though I've taken a break, like you see the community of the brick building like has blossomed since then. And it's great to see. It's great to see the community that's been built up, partly because it is fairly easy to do from a standpoint of get a camera, build on stream. Like there's not a big barrier to entry aside from the cost of Lego, which is becoming a barrier to entry.
It's amazing how in that moment you were looking around. There were a couple Lego. There was some Lego streamers, but not like even what it's been about 2 years since. Not to the extent that we're looking at it now. Like there's
it's so everywhere, and
it's everywhere. Yeah. And so when you were looking at those streams, what went through your head as you were getting ready to try it yourself?
The one that I was attracted to the most right away was Brick and Nick's, because he did a mixture of mock building and set building. And at that time, I was getting into building my own mocks and creative building and stuff. And I loved what he did, where he had the chat vote on what to build. And he had a small, medium-sized selection of parts from the classic Lego sets, and he had to build whatever the chat voted on. And that'll sound familiar to people who have been in my streams and not necessarily seen some of his, because that's what I did when my Thursday night streams were mocks. And I'd have you vote on a character to build for, and I would build a scene for that character. So I want to do some incorporate that same type of thing to get the chat involved, and to do creative stuff. So that definitely stood out to me at that point as, okay, I can see myself doing that. I'd like to do that, doing small mocks and even big mocks, but do that on stream more so than just the sets.
I've seen you do some mocking in the past, and I love that fact about your content, and I can definitely see a little bit of the Brick and Nick influence there. What were those first streams like for you as you were getting adjusted to streaming Lego?
Easy and no pressure, because again, if you think back to what that was like a couple years ago, there was no brick building community. There was no local brick shop who had 60, 70, 80 people in a stream who'd be like, let's find a new Lego streamer and make them an affiliate. Or a Zach doing and then just that's what happens.
Right.
So my first month of streaming was essentially me, my brother, and two friends in chat, trying to entertain each other while I built Lego. And Jake Studs popped in. That's how I met Jake Studs, and he chatted, and he was one of the first that was chatting a lot. And local brick shop, I found him, and we chatted a little bit in his stream and in my stream. And so that was kind of it's really easy to stream when it's literally just you and your buddies and there's nobody else in there. It's maybe a bit boring from the standpoint of you're not getting a lot of chaos happening, but when you're just getting started, to feel like there's no pressure to make that chaos, I wouldn't want to be a new streamer right now and checking out some of the streams and seeing how well developed a lot of them are and feel like, oh, okay, I want to get started, but I can't do that yet. It's going to take me forever to get to that point. And that's a good thing. It should take you a little while to get there. You can't start where someone else has already been streaming for 2 years is. But that would definitely feel more pressure filled from that point of view,
Yeah, that's a really good point. As someone who you've been here long enough to know that because of all the buildup there's been in the community, how someone brand new would, as you said, have a bit more pressure when they maybe log into a stream where it's highly produced or there's just a lot of things going on.
Yeah, like I on the one hand, it is easier now because the community is established and the community is very like loyal to itself. We shout each other out a lot. We want people to become affiliate. We want to get them there. We want to, help people build up a little bit. So on that side of things, it's great that the community is there.
Hmm.
On the flip side of that is kind of what I just said. I would have been much more intimidated to start streaming if I was poking around for a month and saw Zach and the shenanigans that he's up to, and I use Zach as an example, but you're. I'd say anybody who's more chaos than me. I'd say you have a little more of that. Fred, AZ. There's a bunch of them that I would consider the chaos streamers. They're not chaos builders necessarily like I am, but
Right,
they're a
right.
chaos streamer. And
Yeah.
I would feel like if I would feel intimidated by that if I was starting now. It's streaming and content creation, as you know, there's a lot of self-doubt that happens, and just getting out the door or in the door, depending how you want to look at it. I can see that being creating more self-doubt than I had when I started, because there was, in my mind, there's only 6 streamers out here and they're doing a little bit of their own thing and it's fine. And I'm here with my brother in the chat room. I don't have to worry about making mistakes or having problems or being bad at this right now. I have time to get better.
What kind of advice, or even like if you find yourself in a discussion with someone in that exact place who's putting their foot in, they're stepping into Lego streaming or within the space, what would you tell someone who's brand new now?
Oh, just don't rush it. Like it's so hard so Twitch, the number, aside from the affiliate number of like 50 follows, the number everybody sees when you like log into Twitch is how many people are viewing, right? That's the viewer count. It's so easy to get wrapped up in that number. And as a new streamer, aside from the raid from the big streamers that might come in and say hello, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the I only have 6 viewers or 10 viewers and so and so has 60 viewers or whatever.
Hmm.
But everybody starts there. Everybody has to start there, and you really cannot compare the start of your journey as a content creator on Twitch with somebody who's been there years. And my problem, the challenge I had the most, was being a part-time streamer. And the reason I stepped away was being a part-time streamer, but I was streaming 3 or 4 times a week, which is essentially a full-time streaming schedule for a lot of full-time streamers. That's just too much pressure to put on yourself. But if you're comparing yourself to the full-time streamers, you try and it doesn't work. Something's going to break eventually. And I stopped before I was broken. I took a break and stepped away for that reason. So for somebody getting started, I would say just play, within your own means. Stream the amount you want to stream. The community will find you. If you're getting comfortable as you grow, people will latch on to you. I had a lot of people that came to my stream early that have been following and subbing for the better part of my entire streaming life, and how they came in, I have no idea. Why they stayed, I have no idea. But they've become like streaming buddies. That they show up in my streams a lot more often than not, and you know you'll get that. It'll happen. It's just it does take time.
Thank you for that insight and advice. I think that it's incredibly important. As you said, don't compare yourself to people in a different part of their streaming career than you, especially if you're brand new, because there's a lot of established people in this space. And sometimes it's easy to forget that, you have an Amish ace who's been doing this for a couple of years now, or you have Panfred Nudo who's been doing this for a while. Excellent advice. And I mean, even comparing people who are into their career or their streaming time the same amount as you, but maybe they have gone full time in that moment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where it comes down to. And I mean, it's a bit debunked to a certain extent, but that 10,000 hour rule. If I've been streaming for the same 2 years as Local Brick Shop, we basically started at the exact same time. But where I've streamed for, let's say, 1,000 hours, he streamed for like 4,000 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know those exact numbers, but I'm saying he has for sure streamed 4 times more than I have. How can I expect the same results? And if I look at anybody else who's been streaming for a couple of years like I have, guaranteed they've been streaming more and doing things differently, and maybe they have put more work in outside of the stream, which is part of those hours, so you can't compare your first 20 hours of streaming to somebody in there, having streamed for 5,000 hours. You just can't.
Yeah. It definitely puts you in it can put you in a bad place because, and you're unfairly, honestly, comparing when you start to make those comparisons.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up to fail if you're doing that. Okay, the challenge there is to take inspiration from those guys, those people who are ahead of you on that curve, to take inspiration from them, but not judge yourself against them. It's a fine line, and you want to do the one thing that's positive and not the negative half of that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's often looked past most people. We often compare ourselves and we beat up ourselves saying, oh, this person is doing so well, right? They may have more viewers or what have you. And I like your approach of get inspiration from those people. Don't necessarily beat yourself up for not being where they are in their current situation.
Yeah, and like I would say, if you're also, because you're trying to build a community, you're trying to be visible in other people's streams as well, right? So let's say you're taking inspiration by hanging out in some of these streams, but you're having some of those negative feelings. Just close the tab and walk away. Just if that's starting to eat at you while you're there, don't hate watch a streamer you actually like. Just walk away. Change your change your brain, do something else. You can't, if you feel that, just take a step away and come back, and in a couple hours or the next day or whatever.
Such a good point. Don't hate watch.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't hate watch someone you actually enjoy streaming just because you're having a rough day, like we all have bad days, and as content creators we all criticize ourselves, whether you're a Lego builder that's criticizing your own mock and comparing yourself to somebody else's mock and their work, or as a streamer or YouTuber or any job, anything you do where you're producing something, we will criticize ourselves for it. So if you're having one of those days where you're criticizing yourself more than you're being proud of yourself, then do your best to acknowledge that and walk away if you can from whatever is triggering that.
I really like that you point that out, and don't make it that when you get that emotional, because I think we get that emotional reaction, right, when we don't feel like we're good enough, and then we start to feel bad about the whole thing, or in the worst cases spiral. I like that you're telling folks, step away, take a step back, because honestly there's always going to be someone better.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. They're either better than you now or they will be better than you soon, and that is the case for everybody, anywhere, in any job, any profession, any sport, anything.
Thank you for that insight. We touched on this very briefly about when you stepped away.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about your break and how that went?
Yeah. So I decided the end of May, beginning of June last year that I needed a couple weeks off. I was feeling a bit worn out, feeling a bit stressed from the stream, and at that point I had slightly reduced my streaming schedule a little bit, been a little more flexible, but I'd also experienced a couple of months where there was a lot of just having two kids and sickness in the family, and just having to cancel a lot of streams and feeling guilty about that. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna take 2 weeks off, and I need a little break, and I'll come back. And that was 1000% the intention. And I know from talking to people, there was a lot of stuff, people over the summertime were like, he's gone, he's not coming back. He's for sure coming back. There was some speculation from that point of view, but it was intended to be a 2-week break. And then during that 2 weeks, the week came that it was time to start up again. I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm gonna stay off Twitch again. And then it became a practical thing of, I was streaming in my basement in this unfinished room that I'm never going to finish if I'm streaming 3 times a week. How am I supposed to stream 3 times a week and build walls and paint and do everything with my Lego everywhere and my streaming setup everywhere? So then it became a practical thing of, I'm going to finish my room that I want to be proud of to stream from and that I've been dreaming about for years. And then I'll come back to streaming. And that, as most DIY home renos go, took longer than expected.
Right.
It's like one of those things, like any habit, right? There's a certain inertia that builds up. So if you're streaming 3 times a week, it's just, this is what I do, and you just keep going and rolling, and it never stops. And then the habit breaks, and then inertia the other way builds up, and it's hard to get started again. So by the end of summer, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to come back.
Oh man.
I'm really happy with my life the way it is right now. Like I've got a good balance with my family. When I was streaming a lot, I was spending time with my kids, but thinking about streaming, and like,
Hmm.
having that FOMO of what's going on Twitch, like checking the computer or whatever. And like, I was pretty happy in that place. And I'm like, you know what? If you don't miss it yet, don't go back. Just take the time you need. And then, of course, as soon as I did that and I kind of gave myself that freedom, about a month and a half later, I'm like, I want to go back. I want to. So I started slowly. I was like lurking in some streams, and I never said a word. I didn't want people to know that I was there, but I was just lurking, and then built up to chatting a little bit more, and then like, I'm definitely coming back. Now I'm just going to pick a date, and then it was a matter of picking a date, because if you don't pick a date, it's just not going to happen. Yeah, I decided I'm going to start again in January. That gave me a kind of a timeline. I knew the exact date probably around Christmas, beginning of January, but I knew in like November that I was starting in January. So I gave myself 2 months to get the computer set up again and get ready kind of mentally. And I had deleted everything. So I had to rebuild all my scenes in Streamlabs and rebuild everything from scratch, which
Wow.
gave me a reason. It gave me a chance to rebrand. Like, it gave me a chance to redo things and start in a way from what I learned in the last time. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. It went from I'm definitely coming back in 2 weeks to I just need some time to do this to maybe I don't need to do this anymore. And then, you know what, I really do miss this. I'm going to find a way to do this in a smart way, in a way that I can be balanced and happy while doing it, and not feeling less than or feeling stressed or not being engaged with my family.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's really important that we acknowledge those struggles. I know that there's a lot of us who regularly deal with that sort of thing where we're
I, Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know streamers that are streaming more than me and have families as well. Like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people that stream have families. I'm not the only one that has kids. So
Yeah.
how you guys out there find that balance, hats off to you. I'm still trying to find that and feel like I've got it. And for any length of time, I don't know, but like, it's one of the biggest challenges to streaming is that balance. If you have people to care for, whether it's kids or a parent or a relationship that you're in, doesn't matter who it is. It's finding that balance, because the pull of Twitch, the pull of all those little brain chemicals that Twitch gives to you is pretty strong. You got to find a way to balance that out with your IRL family that lives in the same roof, under the same roof as you, or something like that.
To share a little bit. I don't think we've talked about it much, but I took a break from Twitch as well, and this was kind of before the whole pandemic thing. A little context. It was, I want to say, late 2018, and I was coming off of being a one game streamer. I was really well known for a particular colony simulator game, and I built the channel initially off of that. I want to say like 1,500 of my follows were built off of that, and I was reaching 30, 40 average and climbing and getting closer and closer to partner. But it was late 2018, and I was a late night streamer because that was the only time I could make between having some young children, a wife, and a career. And I had been doing that for a good year and a half almost, and streaming only one game, 5+ times a week, late nights. And I got to that point where in that late 2018, I was like, something has got to something's got to break, right? And the only place I could really make time was cutting out the streams. And so I took a legitimate break from streaming like at the beginning of 2019, and I was gone for most of that year. So I took the better
Wow.
part of a year off. I would come back maybe for like a day or two and be like, I'm not really feeling it, and
Nope, not yet. Not ready.
Nope, not ready. There were some false starts, and
Yeah.
and actually the pandemic kind of brought me back. And so I can completely sympathize with that whole, hey, I need to take time. And like you, I went through those struggles of this will only be for like a month. And then it became a couple months, and I'm like, oh man, it's been 6 months, but I think I'm good. Like I feel good. Maybe I don't want to go back. And then it's like, oh, I miss it. And so I went through a similar cycle.
I mean, I will say like it was nice because over that time, definitely a bunch of people from the community at different times reached out, be like, hey, how's it going? There was some concern, but also some just letting like, we miss you. You were talked about in a stream today because essentially I'd build up this rep, because of Marvel, that basically if Marvel got brought up, they expected me to chime in. Like if I was around, I would talk about it if it popped up as a conversation.
Yeah.
So like I will say that meant a lot to me at that time, because it was it's one of those things where you never know, it's like you're talking at a camera, there's a chat going on, but you don't know how much connection you're really making with everybody. If it's just an entertainment situation and a boredom on their end that they're there just cuz, or there's an actual connection and you want to make that connection, you want that, right? But you don't know for sure until and part of what that break did for me was because of those messages that came in, not all the time, but enough came in that I was like, there is a connection there, and that reinforced some of those things to me that at again, on my bad days, I doubt it, so that I will say that there's a big thanks to the people that did do that over the course of that stretch,
I'm glad that you got those messages. I'm glad that people reached out. I think that is an understated thing, that especially as you establish a community, you build your community up, and in your case, you took a break, that those connections still remain, regardless of the fact that you're streaming consistently. And I'm glad that you got those messages. I got the same thing. I would get I'd get a stray Discord message or a Twitter DM like, "Hey man, how you doing? How are things? Yeah. Hey, are you good?" I'm like, "I'm good, man."
And like, I know this chat is supposed to be like you asking me questions, but what you just shared, like, it made me think of Chronic's comment last week about, people who would build off of one game and then change, and all of a sudden they would just lose like a lot. Now you didn't just change, you took a year break, but I'd imagine that comment hit close to home because you must have had to do kind of a lot of the same thing, like rebuild community and and restart, maybe not from zero, but not where you were when you stopped, at least,
Oh yeah. Yeah, to share a little bit, that was really hard. And when I came back, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had some ideas, but at the time, there was this whole year and a half's worth of content and building that was like, I'm known for this game. And then in the last 3 to 4 months of that chunk, I was stepping into a wider genre that still covered that game. So I was like known still for simulators, strategy, turn-based type stuff. And I was still doing fine. But then I left, right? I disappeared off of Twitch for about a year. And then I came back, and my thought was, well, now's an opportunity. I don't have to do what I did before. And it would feel good to try something different. And so shout out to the community who came back when I returned and sat through me going fully variety, or going fully, I think I want to be a story game guy, or hey, I want to focus on content creation. And then the finally settled on, I want to be a Lego person. And then and now I'm like a Lego person / just chatting talk show person. And so it was tough. How, for you, as you made that decision to come back and you started to prepare and you gave yourself a time, how did how were you feeling about coming back? How was the anticipation over a couple months of returning? How did that feel for you?
I was excited about it. Like that's when you know that you've taken the break you needed, because I knew that I missed it. I hanging out in some streams made me know that I wanted to get back to it. So I was excited. I didn't want to build up any expectations in my head of people, celebrating my return. Like I wanted to make it. There was a very real possibility of me just popping up one day, not telling anybody, and just streaming.
Yeah.
And again, with a new name, half the people wouldn't even know who I was, right? So
Right.
I almost wanted to do that just because I didn't want it to be like a spectacle, so to speak. Because I also didn't want to build it up in my own mind that it was this big deal. It was a big deal personally, and I'm thankful that for some people it was a big deal to the community, right? That I was back, because again, that's one of those things that makes you feel good, like get those brain chemicals that make you feel good. And like so that was definitely a big part of it. And so I was excited. I didn't want to make it too big. I didn't want to like expect that I would have like a bajillion people in the stream, enjoy the time that I had. And it was chaotic because I bit off a little more than I can chew in terms of wanting to do stuff in that stream. But it felt so good. And like I didn't sleep for like 2 hours afterwards because I was like so wired and like excited and happy about the stream, and like kind of how I felt after my first couple of like big streams when I was starting out,
With your return stream, for those that didn't catch that, you didn't do any Lego, right?
I did not get to build anything. I didn't even get to open the box.
Yeah.
I stream over my 2 weeks of streaming. I streamed for a total of 5.5 hours before I opened the box, and 6.5 hours before I even started building anything. I'm officially allowed to be in the Slow Builders Club now, apparently.
Yeah. I can speak to that too. I've been there.
No, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And you did something really cool on your return stream with your shirt.
Yeah. So I wanted I kind of explained it on the stream. I'm not good at making memories and souvenirs of things. Like I've never been somebody who takes a lot of pictures. Like I don't make a big deal of things, and like as a result, like I don't even know what the first day that I streamed was. I don't know the first day that I was an affiliate. I don't have any idea what those things were. I know it was the middle of January when I started streaming. Right. I know about a month later I became an affiliate. I don't know, So like every so often I'll go on a streamer's like about page and it has their like first stream, affiliate, 250 followers, 500 followers. I'm like, I have no idea when any of these things happen,
Right.
So like I wanted to, again, I didn't want to make a big deal of the stream, and I didn't want to do something that like made it feel like I was trying to get everybody to, hey, I'm back, come sub, come,
right.
But I did want to do something that I could have a memory of the stream that I came back. So I went and got a t-shirt. It was on sale for $7. Got to the cash, cost me $4. I'm like, yes, big win. And I wanted to get people's names on the shirt. And it's not like, it's literally sitting like 2 feet from me beside my monitor here, because again, I know like anybody else, I have bad days sometimes, and I want to have something that, makes me smile, and reminds me of that day, because there's so many good feelings that come with that stream. So it was important to me to do something like that. And it's important to me moving forward that I do those things when I have a stream, a special stream, to do something that marks it as something that I will remember, not just like subathon goals that help achieve, some subs and donations for a cause or something, but something that I can look back and tangibly remember. That's when I did that stream.
I really love that. I really love the whole shirt thing. Like you, I'm in the same boat of, I never really specifically know. And the only way I know is if I like dive into the, the archives or dive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head when I became an affiliate. Same idea. So I really love the idea of having a tangible thing that says this was the day, like in your case, this was the day that I came back to stream. And yeah, you had the shirt, you wrote down the names of people, who have been supporting you as
who subbed and gifted subs and it's nice, and it doesn't include like like obviously not everybody can make it to that stream, and not everybody's going to buy a sub or gift a sub on that stream. So it doesn't necessarily include everybody in my community that I value. That's not a representation of their value. It's just a keepsake for me for that day, so I have that,
Absolutely.
like a big moment for me, I guess, like to take it in a different direction is like my TikTok legging stream.
Yeah.
There was a lot of like good emotions related to that, because it wasn't just a fun stream. It was like as being accepted into the cool kids club, being asked to wear the
Yeah.
leggings when you had streamers that you like and admire are like, hey, you want to wear the leggings? Okay. But like, I don't know when I did it. There's
Yeah.
clips of it and they pop up. So I know I did it. I have a pair of leggings over here that I know I did it, but like I don't know when it was. I don't have, I have the leggings as a keepsake, but generally they're just like hiding somewhere. They're not hanging proudly in my room.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a real tangible like way to make a connection to that day. And I think that's really awesome. I think a lot of people can learn from that. That inspires me too, to think about how can I do something similar for a milestone for me in the community. So
yeah, I mean, I'm not the first one to do something like that. People have done it on their shirts or their hats, and like, I mean, that to again go into the less talked about areas of Twitch, that is not as big of a deal as it used to be. But like the hot tub streamers that would like write your name on their bodies if you did certain, like that was
Yeah.
a way of like getting, making someone feel seen and achieving a goal or whatever. This was, again, it wasn't for the people. This was something for me. It was selfish in that way, and a way to show appreciation to everybody and remember these people, that showed up that day.
That's fantastic. I love that whole idea. We could all think about doing something similar. I'm glad you're back, man. And I'm glad I did miss that stream, unfortunately, but I did, like, I lurked a little bit as I was able to, and then I went back and caught some of the VOD. So it was a truly great moment to see. And you actually verbalized this yourself. You said, this isn't really my favorite thing you said a couple times during that stream was, you've all already welcomed me back in different chats, but this is my opportunity to welcome you all back to my space, my chat, and let's celebrate it. So that's a really cool thing. I love that.
Yeah, and that kind of goes along with kind of me trying to focus a little more on the chat. One thing I know, I'm just as a person, I'm introverted. I'm not always great at showing appreciation for the friends in my life, the people in my life. I'm definitely not touchy feely. Like, I have a buddy of mine that wants to hug me every time he sees me, and I'm just like, just no, please, just not every time.
Yeah.
I saw you last week. Just like,
right.
I knew when I came back, I want to do a better job of that, of acknowledging people, of making them feel welcome in my stream. And like, the people who are already regulars will tell me, or will say, I already do that, but I feel I can do better. You can always do better. And I know, again, it's a weakness of mine. I'm the guy who's sitting quiet at most gatherings, but when you're the streamer, you're the one organizing the gathering. You're the host. You've got to do some of those hosty things that is not natural to me. But through some effort and some practice, I can get better at it. And I wanted to do that. And that's why the welcoming thing was an important thing that I wanted to say during that stream,
Yeah. I love that. That was really cool. Now that you're back and maybe you have a little time to look at and reflect upon it, as well as your time away, how has that break changed your outlook and your perspective on this whole thing that you're doing now?
I think it taught me what not to do. I feel like I spent a year and a half streaming and having some success as a streamer and being happy as a streamer most of the time. But it definitely taught me a lot of the wrong way to go about things, and some of the mistakes that I made that caused me more stress than I needed, or caused me more anxiety than I needed. And so that's why when I came back, like I was very clear with everybody that I know that I'm going to stream once a week, and I'm going to maybe do once a month stream, like on a Friday when I have a quiet work week. I can just kind of, phone it in and just stream on a Friday, and that'll be once a month, once every 6 weeks, whatever the schedule allows. I'm not going to come in and dive right into streaming, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and whatever else. I'm just going to take it easy. So yeah, my perspective was to be like, listen, you went at it last time. I have an addictive personality, so I went at it like full bore. I can still want to be better. I can still improve as a streamer and take inspiration from other streamers. I need to do it in a way that gives me balance, and so once a week was my commitment. And again, we talked about like the pull of Twitch, the pull of streaming.
Oh yeah.
After the last 2 weeks, I'm already like, oh, I'd love to do this on stream, and I can do that. And
Oh yeah.
like I'm going to add a day. I'm like, no. I'm going to spend at least 3 months only streaming on Thursdays and a few Fridays, and then a couple of like special streams a year. Like I'm going to do a birthday stream that's different like than my normal stream. I'm going to do one of my best memories on Twitch is my 12 hours of Brickmas stream where I gave Lego away every hour. That was a great day,
Yeah.
So like I'm going to do some special streams here and there, but like for 3 months, I'm going to stream once a week. And after 3 months, do I want to add a day? Am I going to add some variety or add another stream where I'm still doing Lego? I can still build plenty of Lego without streaming. I can still be involved in chats and be part of the community without streaming.
Yeah.
For my own sanity, 3 months like this before you let Twitch win and pull you into streaming and then have the same cycle repeat itself,
Right.
I don't want to take another 8-month break.
Right.
I don't want to. I don't want to feel like I have to,
Yeah. I think that's a great way to approach it. And honestly, I commend you for being very intentional about that when you returned and saying, these are my boundaries coming back to streaming, and even giving yourself that time frame, saying, okay, in 3 months, maybe I'll rethink the plan and adjust accordingly. And I think that's something that more people should do, especially if you do not necessarily take a break. You're like, is this really the right amount of time for me to put into this particular thing? So
yeah. I want to be at my best for my community.
Mm-hmm.
Having it once a week for now is the way I think I'm going to be at my best, and if I feel I can do more down the road, then I will. But I really wanted to, like you said, be intentional about this. I don't want to dive in and then a month later be like, rage quit again. Like I didn't rage quit last time, but I've rage quit Instagram twice in my life. This is not the first time I've changed names on a social media site. Everybody, I'm on my third account with Instagram because I again, addictive personality. Social media is tailor made for someone like me to get addicted and have both good and negative emotions. And like, I don't want to fall into that trap here. I took steps with Instagram to have a balance there. I'm taking steps with Twitch to have the same kind of balance, while I'm streaming and be part of the community.
Yeah. I think it's important to stress that too. The fact that you are taking steps to actively prevent yourself from running into those kinds of roadblocks, or, like you said, with your Instagram experience, having walked away a couple times, or rage quitting Instagram.
Rage quitting Instagram, yeah.
Yeah. I love that term, actually. But the fact that social media and Twitch, or both of those things in general, actively influence us to want to stay within those sites and those systems. Mm-hmm. Would you have any further thoughts or insight on how to approach that now that you've kind of already started setting your own boundaries? What would you tell someone who's finding themselves in that same place of like, I want to set some boundaries with Twitch and or other social media sites?
Yeah, I mean for Instagram it's easy because you obviously it's not well advertised, but you can go into your settings in Instagram and give yourself a time limit each day. So how much time do you want to spend on this app? And after X amount of time, it will pop up with a message. Is it time for you to walk away from that? And I set mine to 30 minutes a day
Mm.
max. And there's weeks where my average Instagram time is 12 minutes. And that's pretty much the time it takes me to make a post, publish it, scan through and like and comment on things. And that's about it. And did it hurt my, potential growth on Instagram? Almost certainly, but
Yeah.
it helped me mentally. I also got into a habit from a Instagram point of view, and I've kind of got out of that because of my break from Twitch. It actually took me a break from a lot of things. But one of the things I instituted for myself was what I refer to as an analog weekend,
Mm.
where I just wouldn't go on social media. I wouldn't go on Twitch. I would basically unplug my phone on Saturday morning, leave it by my bed, and try to keep the battery above 95% on Sunday night. Like not plug it back in and just not touch my phone because that's where all my apps are. Like once a month, once every 6 weeks, I just spend a solid 36 hours not touching anything digital, essentially. So those are the two things that I did for myself, and Twitch. We talked about it. I'm just trying to ease myself in, and it's one of the things that Twitch did, that FOMO thing of hanging out in streams. I would kind of shirk my responsibilities around the house. I wouldn't do a chore I was supposed to do. I would just sit and hang out in a stream rather than actually doing either my job or my housework. So I made a joke in local stream this week, something about some kind of accomplishment unlocked. I painted my windowsill, which is a task I had. But like that's the kind of like I had the stream running, I had the tabs open that I was lurking in, but I stepped away from the computer. I went and was productive for an hour, hour and a half, or whatever it was, came back and I gave myself the positive reinforcement by being proud of the fact that I did that. And it feels like it's nothing, but it's also so easy to fall into that tunnel of hanging out on Twitch for 4 hours and you've just lost 4 hours of your life.
Yeah.
And not that it's a bad thing in terms of you're finding your community. That's not what I'm criticizing it. But it's so easy to just on social media, on Twitch, as a content creator, I'm cognizant of that, and as a consumer of content, I'm even more aware of it. And so it's important to me that I consume my content, responsibly, and I try to create content responsibly in that way too.
Yeah. I really like all of that. I think that is super important for all of us, not just even those that are creating, but even those that just consume Twitch and social media. Because honestly, I think we all could be a little more responsible with the time that we spend with it. And I'll say, when I spent a year away from Twitch for the most part, like you, I kind of slowly reintroduced it into my life. But for like a good 6 months, I was not on Twitch at all.
Yeah.
And yeah, that changed a lot of things for me in that it allowed me to kind of recalibrate to my life outside of social media and
Mm-hmm.
content creation and kind of figure out like what my daily routine would look like. And honestly, it does wonders when you take a break. Kind of
Yeah.
puts things in perspective.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be 6 months or 8 months or a year. It is
Right.
just giving yourself the space, whether it's one day or an afternoon or whatever you need for yourself, right?
Absolutely.
It's important, and so for me, if again, like we talked about, if you're like kind of rage watching Twitch, knowing you need to be doing something else and you're mad, then just step away. But
Right.
same thing, if you're looking at it and you're like, oh yeah, I gotta go get this done. Oh, gotta go get this done, and you just don't. The joy you feel in the moment of community and whatever you're doing with that, in those streams is going to be offset by the negative feelings you have later of guilt or of whatever for not doing the work because it's going to get done anyway. If you have chores to do around the house or other important tasks for work,
Yeah.
you're not going to do them. You just have to do them later when you're going to have losing sleep or feeling bad about it or rushing through it and half-assing something. And if it's real life work, job related stuff, that's not a good place to be.
That's some great insight about just being more balanced, I think, and giving yourself the time and the room to kind of make sure you're still doing what you need to do.
Yeah, and like before I stepped away, I remember Bricks O'Brien talked about on one of his streams, and God knows when this was, because obviously my timeline is off. To me, it was a month ago, but it was probably like 10 months because I've been gone for 8 months, right? But
Yeah.
like he like made a conscious choice not to do Lego on his streams anymore, right? Like that was something he was doing on his stream, and I don't know if he's stuck to that, but
Yeah.
he took Lego back for himself as this is something I do as a hobby, as a content creator. It was so easy to just anything is content, and so Lego
Yeah.
became less of a joy for him and more of a just a piece of content, and so I remember him doing that and being aware enough to do that, and obviously, I mean, he wrote a book about that, so like
Right.
obviously he has a clue what's going on,
Yeah.
but when I saw and heard him do that, I'm like, that is, I'm not going to say a ballsy move, because it's not like he was only doing Lego and changing games and he might lose all his watchers, like that wasn't something like that, but it was something that it takes a certain amount of self-awareness to do that,
Yeah.
and props to him when he did, and that was one of the things that I remember sticking in my mind. If I remember it now, I want to be able to approach things in that way.
Sometimes you got to save things for yourself, whatever that looks like. I mean, I'll say I thought it was a ballsy move too, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I was very worried. I wasn't thinking about this before, but like I was very worried when I started streaming Lego that I would not want to do it anymore. It would become the chore of streaming, and I need this for content I'm not going to build on my own,
Right.
and I'm very happy that that never happened. Even when I was tired of Twitch, I wasn't tired of Lego,
Yeah.
so that fear proved unfounded. But yeah, for anybody that's got those kinds of struggles, you do want to keep something for yourself that you don't have to share with everybody.
Yeah. I approach Gunpla that way. That I
Mm,
I don't really stream Gunpla. I find it. I build Lego off stream too, but when I got into Gunpla like 5-6 months ago, I was like, I'm just gonna do this for me. I'm gonna do it
yeah.
whenever I find the time. If I just have a moment to like sit down and work on a kit, I've kind of made the promise to myself that maybe one day I'll stream it, but I'm never gonna like it's never really gonna be like the focus of stream. Like
Yeah.
it's not gonna be my content in
Yeah.
that way.
It might be something you talk about, because the
Yeah.
topic comes up, or you have some in the background so that you can show them off once in a while. But, to use it as a content, medium,
Yeah.
I'm going to show me doing this. Keep that to yourself. As like you said, we all need our hobbies that aren't, you know, related to our jobs, or whether you're a full-time streamer or not. It's less of a hobby for yourself if you have to save it to share, because otherwise you don't have the content for your stream. Like
Right.
it kills me. I've got my Quinjet still sitting there, and like
Yeah.
every part of me wants to build it. You
Yeah.
know, and but I've decided it's going to be built on stream, and every Lego streamer probably feels this where they have a set just sitting there. But like you do have to have something that is for yourself, that is not someone else to control. And if Lego is your content, then your stream schedule controls when you build your Lego, and it's you don't want that for your Gunpla, for example.
Absolutely. You say that, and I'm staring at the jazz club, like half built in front of
I
me.
want to build
But
this. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, man, I could just start building this right after this stream.
I want to finish this. I love this thing. Yeah.
Yeah. You do. I want to shift gears a little bit because you do
Mhm.
something that's really fun on your stream that stood out to me, which was one of the reasons why I actually did want to talk to you before your break. But you do a lot of gamifying your stream
Mm.
and the things
Mhm.
that you do while you're live. Could you kind of give a brief description of how all like, well, brief is a subjective word here, but could you give a description of how you approach that? Because I think this is unique, and I some people do things kind of in that realm, but I'd love to hear how you approach it.
Yeah. So for those that come into the stream, to make the closest approximation, when you're at a stream, you earn channel points, right? And a lot of streams use a bot or something like Stream Elements, and it awards like a secondary points you can use to buy tickets for raffles and stuff like that. Is the most obvious example.
Hmm.
Um, so I did the same thing where I set up two concurrently running things, a currency and like XP points, so that you could play games and you could basically become a character, an avatar in the stream. You can then buy things for your character using a Lego minifigure. And what I wanted to do was create something that was unique and was something that would appeal to the right kind of person that would keep them engaged, and it was one thing that was, again, a little too big. I didn't think, like anything else, you don't know what you're getting into until you start it. So it's one of those things that I started and it got like too complex, too
Mm,
hard to manage. And it was one of the drivers of my stress on my stream. So when I came back, I knew I had to simplify it a little bit and
yeah.
take out some of the layers, which I did, and
Yeah.
it was still hard to manage the first stream because it was just chaos. But like, I wanted to have a reason for people to come back to the stream and have a character that grows. Like I thought of, so many video games now, you get skins for characters that mean diddly squat.
Yeah.
They don't do anything for your character. It's just the way you look on the screen, and
Yeah.
it's a prestige thing for some of them that are unique and rare and stuff like that. And I thought I can do that on this stream, and give people something that is unique to them, an avatar with a minifigure. And coming back, I decided to do micro builds because I scrapped the idea of an entire Lego universe in my room because it was just going to take up too much space. But I
Yeah.
can build a microverse and keep it on a shelf or a table. So same idea. So like you can buy yourself a little avatar, deck them out in whatever outfit you want, upgrade and buy shields and helmets, and buy yourself a little house. I just wanted something that felt unique, felt quote unquote on brand.
Mm,
Something that I would like to do that. I wanted to build something that if I went to the stream and somebody else was doing this, I would 100% want to play those games and do those things. And the downside for some of it is some of it turns into a bit of chat spam with the commands and stuff. But I enjoy it, and I like to think that, again, people will come in. I get a lot of questions about it when people raid in and have never been there before, and they're like,
mhm.
"Oh, what can I buy?" I'm like, "Well, nothing. You just got here, but come back, and,
Right.
save up, and like." um, but like stuff like that, like I wanted it to be something that kind of allowed me to be creative, engaged the chat, and you got to be a part of the stuff that I was building. You can choose the color of your house, for example. You can choose, which armor you get when you upgrade, stuff like that. I wanted it to be something so that you had a personal representation of yourself in my stream. Again, comes back to me wanting to welcome people back to this space, not you
Yeah.
guys welcoming me back to the Twitch space.
I like I actually I think it's really one the system itself. I love the idea of it as a game designer by day. I'm always looking at how things are gamified. So one, I appreciate that. But two, I think it's really cool that as you took that time off and you made the plan to come back, you realized the toll it was kind of taking on you, and so now you're scaling it back, which
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it was something I knew I wanted to keep. There was no doubt in my mind I was keeping it. That's one of those things that, like I said before, part of the break, there was just too much. It was just a lot to try to do all at once. And try to manage it and fix the bugs in the programming that I made. Like I did discover through this how much I enjoy that back end part of it. I love
Oh yeah.
going into my bot and programming these conditional commands and making this game. This dig game that I built is not a game that is a packaged thing that, like a lot of heist games, that's like a just plug it in and it's done, right?
Yeah.
The dig game that I built is entirely just a text file and a bunch of conditional commands, and it's
Yeah.
like I had so much pleasure in building that. And I've never done any kind of coding in my life or any kind of programming in that way, so it was a fantastic thing to discover that I enjoyed through streaming.
Yeah.
But it became to the point, anybody who does anything like that knows that that's pretty labor and time intensive, where you're trying to get through things and realize order of operations is wrong. Okay, how do I fix this, like
Oh yeah.
that kind of thing. So I'm so happy I discovered that I enjoyed it, because it's something else that, like, oh wow, I like this. This is
Yeah.
great. But also, I need to, whoa, just take it easy here. Let's not make it too complex, because A, nobody can figure out what you're trying to do, and B, you can't even keep up. So let's tone it down a little bit.
That's really cool that you kind of discovered this like love of like the nuts and bolts of the whole thing, and like you said, kind of getting in there and writing code for this bot, that you discovered kind of another aspect of what we do as creators that you enjoy. And that's really cool. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you settled on the whole I'm going to make this bot, I'm going to make this thing, and you found that you enjoyed it. And I think like you, many of us actually love thinking about how we can do things under the hood for the stream, whether it's coding a bot or making crazy alerts and redeems and things like that that use a lot of logic and conditioning. Man, I appreciate that about you. And the whole gamification of the stream, how has that evolved? I mean, we talked about you kind of making it a lot lighter, but how else has that changed over time now that you've been doing this for a little while?
So my original vision for it was like any other game, that you would unlock different levels. So you gain your XP, and at a certain level of XP, you gain a rank, and then the next level is harder to reach, and you get another rank, and you go up. And like, I think the ranks, there's like a 10 or 12 ranks that I created. The first rank, somebody who's in the stream for the very first time, is like a villager or something. Like you're a peon, like you got nothing, right? And then you become like a hero, or an apprentice or something, and then you become an Avenger, and you're like an apprentice Avenger, and then you're a journeyman Avenger, then you're a master Avenger, and like stuff like that. So that was my vision, but my vision was to have a game that you could unlock when you got to each level. So like a villager could do certain tasks to earn XP and earn money, whereas a hero could do different tasks. But again, that's part of the complexity, that it was too hard to follow, and people who came in, if they see other people playing one game that are regulars, they're like, why can't I play that game? Oh, you can play this game, and it just, there's just,
right.
Too many things, too many variables and too many things. So that kind of took a backseat to just being a little more simple. You still have ranks, and there'll be perks to the ranks, but not to the point where, there's different games to play at every level that you joined, right? Yeah. Because like I found myself explaining how to do anything in my stream most of the stream. Because in my head, I know how it works. I know exactly how this works. But then I have to explain it to everybody that comes in that's new. Even the shopping programming, like my next big project is to take it, the shopping thing where you can buy armor and stuff is a prepackaged piece of the inventory system. But it is not very user-friendly to buy things and sell things. And I know from the programming I just did to buy a house, I can do my own subset of commands and program my entire store that way.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of work. And I'm like, I don't think I want to do that right now.
If you ever need an eye from a game design point of view, let me know.
For sure.
But that's really cool. I love that idea. I think that's really great. And it really stands out as something that you don't see. And so I commend you for coming up with this system and evolving it. Thanks. And figuring out what works for you and where you want to take it. So
yeah, and I hope that chatters like it, and I hope that it drives a little more engagement to come in and play. And like, one of the things that we talked about the viewer count number that people look at, and it becomes a way to judge how well you did. I would rather have 15 people in my stream that are chatting the whole time than 100 with one person talking to me. At the end of the day, which one do you feel was a better stream? You're going to feel better about that one with less people that are more engaged. It's subjective in that way in terms of engagement. So what I want to do is create another layer of engagement, a reason for people to engage in chat and be there, and again, be part of the stream versus a viewer of the stream.
Given that whole concept, is that how you personally like to get involved with other channels? Do you prefer being more engaged directly via chat, or do you prefer to lurk more?
It's a tough question. So it's so weird too, because I've been on around Twitch for 2 years, even with a break, and my view on lurking shifted like last week because of a conversation that Zach had in his stream. I want to lurk more often. So like what I'll do, like at 4 o'clock, my kids come home, and I'm basically dad from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Every so often, I will pop. People who stream around those times will attest to. Every so often, I pop in and be like, drive by lurk, and just leaving, because I'll pop in at like 4:15. I'll see who's streaming, open a tab, and just leave. And I might not even say hi, but sometimes I will. So that aspect of trying to be supportive in that way, I'm trying to do more of that. Yeah. On the other hand, I would much rather, when I'm actually actively sitting at my computer or standing, because I don't sit, I want to be engaged in a chat, in a chat room. I don't want to bounce back and forth between tabs too much. So I will make a conscious effort to like engage fully for 30 to 45 minutes and then peace out and go to another stream and engage fully for 30 to 45 minutes, it's too hard for me. As some people who can do it, I don't grasp how your brain can function like that, because my brain doesn't. And
Yeah.
like, mad respect for people who bounce around like that. But
Yeah.
for me, I want, for me to manage, I'd rather spend dedicated time that I'm fully engaged with someone, the streamer and their chat, for a period of time, and then move on to the next stream or move on to something else, do my own thing, but try to engage fully when I'm there, versus saying hello and then going to the next stream and saying hello and engaging for every stream for 5 minutes at a time and coming back. And again, people do that, and I appreciate the ones who do that come into my stream for that reason, but I can't do that personally. So for
Yeah.
me, I function better engaging fully for a block of time, shifting to something else, and then engaging fully again. That's how my brain works, and that's how I like to function when I'm now that I'm back.
I think that's some great insight, because a lot of us approach Twitch differently.
Yeah, and exactly. There's definitely people who are really good at chatting in multiple things at a time. Like I'm amazed because I will see it. If I'm hanging out in a couple of streams, I will be in one and I'll see people chatting in the one that I'm in and two others. I'm like, how?
How do you do? Yeah.
And again, it's not. I don't do it that way, not because I'm judging that negatively. You're not less engaged because you're not doing it the way that I engage.
Yeah.
They're engaging in the way that works for them, and that's the thing. The beauty about Twitch from that point of view is chatters, viewers, can engage the way they want to. If they just want to lurk the entire time, not even say hello, they can. If they want to chat for the entire time in one stream, they can. If they want to bounce around, they can. That's the beauty of it from my point of view, and that's how I approach it personally, because of the way that my brain works and what feels good to me.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic perspective, and like you, I think I have an upper limit in terms of even how many channels I could pay attention to at once. I've pushed those
My upper limit is one.
Yeah,
One.
yeah. I fail after one. I can maybe wing it for two for a little bit, and then I'm like, no, I can't. Gotta go. But thank you for that perspective. It's cool, and it's cool how your outlook has, like you said, your outlook has changed a little bit in terms of what it means to be a lurker, or what that means in relation to you as a content creator. I think that there's such a broad spectrum, right, of how we all consume and what works for any individual. And I think that's certainly sometimes we forget, right? Because we tend to approach Twitch the way we consume it. And even as a streamer, we sometimes still think that way, because I found myself, like you have said to my chat, how are you watching 3-4 other channels? Like, how are you doing that?
To be fair, this is coming from the same person that organized simultaneous hype trains in a closed stream and his own. So there
we go. There it is. Man. That's y'all are crazy. I'm just going to put that out there. But I love y'all for it. One thing that in preparation for this episode, and for you and I talking, we briefly talked about the fact that it could be difficult to attract an audience, right? When especially because to touch back on our discussion of what it was like to start in the brick building community compared to now, there's a lot more of creators, even in just this space. But what are your thoughts on that, on the fact that it's so hard to kind of make a name for yourself within the Twitch community or even the brick building community?
It's definitely one of those things where it's a really easy place to judge yourself negatively, and think that it's because you're not good at what you're doing. And this isn't to say that we can't all get better at the stuff that we do. As a streamer, I'd like to think that aside from a little bit of ring rust, I'm a better streamer today than I was 2 years ago, So along your journey, you're going to improve as a streamer, but that doesn't mean that, the fact that maybe you're struggling to get an audience, or one day is worse than the next. Last week I had this many people, this week I didn't have anybody. What happened? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that you did or you didn't do, and it's an easy trap to fall into. And I think the key there is just remembering that, because even if you have the same numbers, the joy you get from those numbers drops. So like the way your dopamine works, right? That's your like search and destroy type of, feel good brain drug. And so like that first time you get 20 viewers, it feels so good because you had a super active chat, everybody was there, it was such a great time. And the next time you get 18 and it feels terrible, even though 18 is way better than the 3 you had last week. So no matter what level you're at, whether you're getting 10 on the regular or 75 on the regular or 150 on the regular, our brains are programmed, once we get used to a certain amount of viewers, if we drop a little bit or we stay the same, we're not getting the same level of joy from it, for lack of a better term. Couple that with how hard it is just to grow and find people, it's really easy to struggle with that. That's where I never have my chatter number up. I cannot see it the entire time that I stream. I don't even look at it. That's one thing I would suggest anybody to not do. And you'll have a sense of how busy you are based on chatters or not chatters, but
Mm-hmm.
to even have it visible is a reminder to yourself. You don't want, when you're streaming, you should be focused on the content you're providing, the build that you're doing if you're a Lego streamer, whatever it is. And I think if you set your goals based on the process of what you're doing and improving as a streamer and improving your content, the audience finds you eventually. You get rated by a few people, and of those, let's say 5 people that come in with the raid, 1 comes back. You get rated by 75 people, and of those 75, 30 drop off, and 5 come back the next week. But it's if you can get away from some of the numbers that are a result of the process, you'll be able to manage it better. And if you can set your process goals, for me, it's try to find ways to create engagement, build stupid games that people can play and dig up infinity stones with their
Yeah.
imagine with their imaginary shovel, like stuff like that. And not everybody's going to like that, but some people will. If you can set goals and set processes that you can improve as a streamer and improve your content in a way that you think is an improvement, I think the audience eventually finds you. But it's hard. It takes time.
Yeah.
Aside from the initial burst of I'm going to get an affiliate because the brick building community is very supportive of one another. After that burst, that's the biggest drop I think that people are going to feel, because they get that burst, they get those 50 follows, they get affiliate, and they're back to 3, 4, 5 people for the first little while again. And that's where you're going to feel the worst about it, because the growth, oh yeah, oh wait, no, it's not this fast.
Right. There's so much good stuff in there, and I want to echo a lot of that, because this is all really good. I think that you're absolutely on target with the whole, not paying attention to your numbers, but most importantly, when you set your goals and when you look at your performance, it should have nothing to do with the numbers. More so, it should do with the processes that go into the creation.
Yeah, or look at the numbers. Like, look at the right numbers. So
Right.
I'll give you the example. When I came back, I set myself a way of measuring, because I don't know if this existed before, but I was always upset that I didn't get stats from Twitch. I couldn't find a way to get stats from Twitch on my chat messages unless I got the annual thing.
Right.
So I don't know if that was part of the initial analytics page, and I never bothered to find it, or it's something that kind of happened over the course of the year. But I actually found it this time, like when I started streaming again.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I set myself up an Excel sheet, and it's got a couple of columns. One column is the average viewers, one column is the chat messages, and one column is the average chat message per viewer. The chat messages by themselves mean nothing, because if you have a massive raid and a lot of chats, whatever, and the average viewers by itself means nothing. So I've streamed for 2 weeks. The first stream I had, average viewer 40. Second stream, average viewer 20. It's really easy to be like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
I thought I was, going to come back and but week 2 had a higher number for chat messages per viewer. So I had less viewers, but I had more engagement of the viewers that were there. So by looking at that number, I'm happy with that. That's what I want. I'm good with that. I want to grow. I want to get to, to 40 to 50 to 60 to 70, more viewers.
Yeah.
But by looking at that number, then I have a better sense of the engagement people had while they were there.
Yeah.
And so if you can find ways to measure your success that isn't just in how many viewers you have, and again, I value engagement, so that's why I put that as one of my success measurements. If
Hmm.
you're if that's not something, I'm not saying you don't value engagement, but if your goal is, we've talked about Fred, it's hard to measure this, but Panfred Nudo, I remember him because I'm now a slow builder, but like one of the things about him that again resonated early on is how much he takes care of his chat, and lots
Hmm.
of streamers do that, but he was the one I remember vocalizing it when I went to see him one time, so that's why it stuck. It's not like a lot of Greek streamers don't do that, but he vocalized it at a time after I rated into him, and so that was something that for him a successful stream is him taking care of his chat. That's hard
Yeah.
to measure, right? So like
Yeah.
what are as a streamer, what is success to you as a stream? And it better not be the number of viewers, because that's going to fluctuate week to week, day to day, and it might have nothing to do with the content you're providing and the quality of a streamer that you are.
I think that is so important to pay attention to is this concept of what is important to you as a streamer. And like you just said, if average view or that view count is it, you're going to get disappointed at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember, one of my streams at some point, I got a raid from Jang one day. So my average viewers shot up for that stream because, a lot of them stuck around, and he had 120 people with him that day, and I went from streaming to 15, 20 people to 100, and then 96, and then 87, and then my average was like 67 or whatever it was. If you're hanging your hat on that number, I'm going to need a raid from that size of streamer every day, because I'm not attracting it by myself yet.
Right.
And again, put in the work and you can get there if that's what your goal is down the road.
Mm.
But if you hang your hat on that number, you're setting yourself up for some issues. Even if you have the same number every week,
Yeah.
even if you have the same number every week, your brain is wired to want more, and you're going to end up feeling disappointed, even if it's a steady of the same number.
I mean, steady number in often is actually a really good thing, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
when you're staring at that number and it doesn't go up, you
Why
feel
aren't you
like
going up?
you feel like you've done something wrong or failed or aren't succeeding as a creator. So you already what's great is you beat me to a question, which was what do you consider successful streamer. So A+ for
Yeah.
you. But yeah, I'm glad that you touched on that, because I think success varies from person to person, but definitely the number makes it really difficult, and I think people should kind of separate success from
Yeah.
that
And I
number.
mean, again, to get back to like measuring success, another big success factor is, am I making money on my stream? Like how much money did I make this month? And that's obviously a lot of people on Twitch are here for that,
Hmm.
and especially if you're a full timer or want to be a full timer, that's a very important thing to do, right? To
Yeah.
accomplish. But again, if you look at the numbers, how much money did you make this month? Okay. How much of it came from the same 5 people?
Yep.
Right? That's important, because if it's the same 5 people and one of them goes away for real life reasons, that's a significant thing. Income is part of the reason people are on Twitch. I said from the outset, my goal was if I can get a little bit of money to pay for some of my Lego, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
But like, but if you're aiming and to do this long term and you're growing and you want to get to partner and go full time and make a living as a streamer, which is hard to do,
Yeah.
you know, the bottom line of the money is not the most important thing for you to be paying attention to as you grow, because it needs to be diversified from that point of view. You have to have a community that is the community supporting you, not a small fraction of people who are supporting you.
And I think that's something that doesn't dawn on creators so quickly, and I think that's valuable for you to point out. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. What is in the future for your channel? What where are we going with all this?
I just want to do this and feel happy for 3 months and not want to quit again.
Yeah.
Like that for me, that's aside from engagement with chat, that's the success for me. The success for me is doing this, managing the push and pull of Twitch and being a content creator here on Twitch, and family and real life things. If I'm managing those things well and I'm happy on Twitch in 3 months, then that is A1. I feel like I'm on probation at this point from that point of view. So that is, not necessarily what's coming to my stream. That's what's important to me moving forward. As far as a stream is concerned, again, I'm building a set right now. God knows when I'm going to get finished based on the pace I'm on right now. But like
Yeah.
streaming once a week, it's going to be slow. I mean, I might finish it next week if we don't have a whole lot of shenanigans, but I feel like it's not going to get finished for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
But then back to mocks, back to engaging the chat for some mock ideas and building something. I like what the start that we've had for the new microverse with houses being built, with the gamification of the stream. We've already got like a dozen people with houses, and we're going to start putting those together, and it's going to become like an actual village, I guess you could say. So I love that. And long term, if it gets to a point where my entire stream is managing that game, I would be happy with that. I think just talk about geeky stuff and nerd stuff, and manage like the game that I built in this stream. How happy you you come from game design. How happy are you when you build a game and actually people use it? Like for me
Absolutely.
to do that and then become okay, I guess I'm just chatting now, and we're just gonna build avatars and houses all night. Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, that would be so great to me. Like
Mm.
I wouldn't get any mock building done, but I still mocks. I'm building little houses, little castles, a little microverse. That's mocking, and you
Yeah.
guys are fully engaged. Like that's exactly what I want. Am I going to be upset if okay, today we're going to build a Quinjet and I don't touch it for a month? Okay, I should stop saying I'm going to build a Quinjet at some
Yeah.
point.
True.
I've had enough guilt over not supporting streamers the way I felt like I could or should in the past. I'm letting go of that, and I want to. If it's about me, definitely please for anybody that's like in that space, don't feel like you've got to be there if you've got real life things to accomplish or you're already streaming on that day. Like that's just what it is. It's just the reality of the situation we're in.
I want to ask you because I think this is a great vector to go down with feeling guilt for supporting other content creators, right? Or feeling that guilt. What would you tell someone who's like, "Hey Ty, I'm really sorry I can't make it. I just can't." Like, what do you tell those people who do feel that way? And how or rather to flip that, how would you tell creators to kind of approach that thought of feeling guilty that they want to support other people but can't?
So for myself, I've flipped it both in the way that I've told you that I'm managing it, in that when I'm having, non-Twitch time, I will check in, open tabs, and then leave, and that's it. Drive by lurk, and that's it. Or fully engage when I'm able to. Those two things really help me feel good about what I'm doing, because if I'm lurking, I'm providing at least some kind of support, even if they don't even know that I'm there. I know that I'm doing it, and when I
Yeah.
am around, I'm fully engaged and I'm there. So that makes me feel good about that. The other part of it that flips it in my brain is if I am around less, it just adds value to when I am around.
Yeah.
And so like I took 9 months off, so it added value to me not being around. Me not being here kind of added value to oh, we miss you. I'm not saying you should do that to manipulate people, but if you are around a little less in chats, I don't know who can I give an example of. So Scott Builds, I'll give an example as a regular who was in my stream. He's West Coast
Yeah.
from Canada. So there's an immediate Canadian connection, but he's West Coast. He changed jobs last year. He's immediately less available to hang out in my chat. So he's 3 hours different. He's got a family. His life changed, and all of a sudden my stream is not compatible with him anymore.
Hmm.
And like that's fine. That's okay. I don't begrudge him that in any way. And I think again, it comes back to the things you say to yourself versus the things you say to other people. Most people are much more kind, and this is from sports, but people speak to their teammates much more nicely than they do to themselves.
Yeah.
So if someone comes in and says, "I'm sorry, I couldn't make it," you say, "Don't worry about it, not a big deal." If you can't make it, you tell yourself you're a bad friend, you're a bad community member, you're a bad whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's where you have to separate yourself, in the way you speak to yourself, and talk to yourself like you would talk to any one of your chatters if they can't make it.
Yeah.
Just got a pop alert. No problem. I appreciate it. That's great. But people talk to themselves much worse. And if you can flip it in your brain and talk to yourself in that way, like you would talk to somebody else, then you're better off. And if you can be engaged and be around when you can, it just adds value to you being there. So when Scott can come because life allows him to for half an hour, I'm just that much more appreciative of it. So try to flip it in your own brain as a viewer or a chatter. If you're busy, don't feel bad you can't be there, but know that you're even that much more appreciated when you can show up. Because I promise you, the chatter or the streamer feels that way because they miss you too.
Thank you for that. I think that is a fantastic way to approach it. We should be kinder to ourselves. I definitely know for a fact that I've said that so many times to chatters. Like, hey, don't worry about it. You're great. You're good. Thank you. I understand. And then I'll turn around and I'll be like, oh, Ty's live. Crap, I'm a crappy community member, right?
Yeah, but I don't want people to feel like that. And there's a comment in chat here, like Pinwheel, for example. He apologized profusely for missing my return stream. It's like, dude, that's fine. You've been a supporter of my stream almost the whole time. I don't even know when, but almost the whole time.
Absolutely.
And like I don't begrudge your life, real life, getting in the way of you hanging out in my stream. Still, we can still chat on Discord. We can still, you're still in the Lego community. We can chat there. It's not something I'm ever going to hold against someone. If I took 9 months off because I didn't know if I was ever coming back. I'm not going to begrudge someone for missing a stream, or
exactly.
My work schedule is on Thursdays. I can't come to your streams anymore. Okay, like Jake Studs is one of those early adopters of my stream, who I still feel this connection to, and I don't think we're in each other's streams more than once every 3 months, really. Not with any significant impact because our schedules don't match. He's across the pond. He streams at 4 p.m. when my life goes into dad mode on Tuesdays, or he streams on the weekend when I'm in dad mode on the weekends. So like, there's no lack of connection to that as long as you can still both feel it, still both nurture it through other means. The odd lurk, the odd message on Instagram for me because I'm on Instagram, stuff like that. There's still that sense of community, still that sense of connection. It's not going away just because your life precludes you from being in my stream, or my life precludes me from being in your stream. Like Amish Ace, as an example, as a streamer, I love being in his streams, but he streams when I'm in bed, so I just almost never get to be in his stream for more than a few minutes. Or Fred is another. Anybody on the West Coast is hard for me to get to see, unless they start really early. And it's just life, it's not there's nothing wrong with that.
Fantastic perspective. And yeah, we should all be a little bit kinder to ourselves when it comes to missing each other's content or missing other people's content. So
exactly.
It's been a hell of a talk, man.
It's been a chat.
It's been a chat, dude. I want to just thank you for everything. This has been absolutely wonderful. And I want to put this out there, folks, twitch.tv/TyesGeekSide. Please go over there. You need to go over there. I think that's something that, man, like just everything that you said. I loved your perspective, and I think you've come back in such a great place mentally, as well as the right direction for what you're building. So
thanks.
Kudos to you, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I want to thank you too, because we had the opportunity to chat and do this, and you specifically said I'd rather do it, on this day and help you, get started again. Like, let's do it once you're back, and like, so that that speaks volumes to you helping out another streamer, not just having a chat for your own content, but you wanted your content with me to be timed with me coming back, not randomly a month before I come back, because I knew I was coming back. We could have talked a month ago, but you specifically said, let's do this after you're back. It can kind of maybe give you a little boost or whatever. And so that speaks volumes, not just to what you're creating for this specific piece of content for yourself, but what you're trying to do for other streamers by giving them a voice for these kinds of conversations. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. That means a lot, man. I hate to cut the whole thing off, because we as we were prepping for this, we were
gonna happen.
Right, as we were prepping for this, it's one of those, hey, we could go forever, but we'll call it when it feels like a good place. Even though,
it's a good stopping point.
Even though I know we could go on for another hour or two, but what I'm gonna do here, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. When you were gone, you were missed. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me about that and opening up about what that time was like for you, because I know that's not always easy to discuss for some. And so I really appreciate it. I appreciate the space that you have in this community, and I think I can speak for everyone that you're absolutely welcome back, and we missed you. So you're here now, and we can enjoy that. So
Yep. I'm here. I'm taking steps to be here as long as I can.
yeah,
Like it's, you never know what, life has in store, but I've learned from the year and a half that I did it before my break, and I'm taking steps to make sure that I'm here long term now. So, I'm really happy about it.
and I'm glad, and I'll be cheering for you every step of the way.
Thank you.
Um, as is customary for the end of this show, I love to give the guest the floor so they can close out the show. So I'm going to give the floor to you so you can give some final thoughts to everyone that is watching and or listening. Ty.
We're gonna cut back to my dad roots here. So all-time favorite kids show that we watch right now in this house obsessively is Bluey, which is an Australian production.
Yeah.
And there's a specific episode where the entire thing is about running your own race. And nothing could be more important when it comes to being a content creator. Whatever you are creating, whether it's video content, whether it's creative builds of Lego or blacksmithing or writing, whatever it is, whatever you are creating, if you are in any kind of creative space, do what feels right to you. Run your own race. Don't compare yourself to other people who are further along in the journey than you are. It's not a fair comparison to yourself. And do what you love to do for the reason that you love it, not to compete with others or to measure yourself against some other expectation. If you can be a creator that runs their own race and does their own thing, you will find the audience that loves you and appreciates you for what you are. So do that.